You're listening to Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong, all on Georgia Radio Network.
Welcome to episode 103 of the Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong podcast. I'm Dave Roberts. With me, as always, is writer, journalist, TV personality, Jessica Szilagyi.
Hey.
I forgot Bug Assassin.
Bug Assassin is damn right.
I wish we had the recorders going. Jessica had to go and kill a bug that was driven in by the rains that happened last week. And she's negotiating with a dog to get out of the way. So she's coordinating a strike on this thing. Sounded like a SWAT officer busting into a house of a commissioner or something like that.
I used a tennis shoe, just for the record.
Oh, you didn't grab the curtain rod this time? Jess, how you doing this week?
Oh, great, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing good. You know, I did a career day last week.
Tell us about us. Tell us about you with the children.
Oh man, that was something. They did it more like a career fair, like a job fair. And let me tell you what 18-year-olds don't want to do, and that's HVAC. So I sat there in the corner by myself for 3 hours next to the Air Force Reserve recruiter who's sitting by herself because at that age they're not really going in the reserve. So we sat there and talked and watched the kids look, and they would get a prize for getting everybody to sign off on their little passport thing. And they looked at me and looked at what we did for a living and kept walking.
So, did you connect with any of the,
No, let me tell you something. Kids in high school are different now.
They're mean.
It's not just mean. I just didn't see any that were like cool. I didn't see anybody that was holding. I mean, it was different. Every one of them walked up to the Air Force recruiter. They walked up to her and said, "How do I be a pilot?" She's like, "Lots of school." And like, "Oh, yeah, I don't want to do that."
Were they respectful?
Oh yeah. And I talked to one of the science teachers who, and we were just talking. He said he does physical science and chemistry. I said, "Man, this got to be really fun. Go into Kelvin's laws and do experiments." He goes, "Yeah, we don't really do experiments anymore." I said, "Really? Not even chemistry?" He goes, "Yeah, we're not allowed to mix chemicals."
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, he said basically
Why bother then?
They teach the test.
They don't mix chemicals? Like, that was like chemistry lab.
Oh, yeah. So, apparently, the fun part of learning is pretty much dead, and what they do is they teach the test so they can keep their federal funding.
Lovely.
So, speaking of funding, Jeff Duncan, that's a horrible transition, endorses Renee Unterman for Congress.
So... from the article that was written by whom?
This blonde chick that just sensationalizes every headline.
Yeah, that's okay, whatever. Go ahead, read the quote.
The endorsement took politicos by surprise as Unterman and Duncan were once on opposite ends of the Republican political spectrum when Duncan was serving in the state house. Duncan formerly advocated for limited government, which often put he and Unterman at odds on legislation. Unterman also lost her Health and Human Services Committee chairmanship when Duncan took the helm of the Georgia Senate.
I mean, I feel like this should be shocking to people. Like, even the most, I am super cynical, and I did not see this coming. Do you remember all the claims of sexual harassment? I mean, obviously not by Jeff Duncan, but that she made when she got her chairmanship for Health and Human Services taken. And, I mean, it's not like they've had a chummy relationship.
And she dropped that stuff. I mean, that disappeared fast.
It disappeared. She just never brought it up again after she got her little headlines for it.
Because she was maybe stretching the truth. And these are our opinions, and not necessarily those of all in Georgia. Yeah, she was full of crap.
Yep.
So anyway, he endorsed the woman who blocked the rape kit testing bill for her own benefit, blocked the medical cannabis legislation for her own benefit, served as a state Senate Health and Human Services Committee chair while working as the CFO of a company that has the state's biggest Medicaid contract, pushed the stripper tax and made constitutional amendment of it, claimed she was sexually harassed. We discovered that, as I just read, not think. Loaned herself $600,000 for this congressional campaign, has lied about her own record. That is a article that's on All on Georgia, and we will link it back when this episode drops with the specifics of her misleading of her on again off again relationship with the truth when it comes to her legislation. Blasted a lawmaker for his choice for governor because he opposed her bill 3 years prior because she backed Casey freaking Cagle for governor. And if you can't hear Jessica's writing in that, I don't know.
It's in all caps too.
So I can't hit the range that you hit when you yell Casey freaking Cagle.
Yeah. So who changed here? Because Renee Unterman is the same terrible human being. Our opinions. That's Dave's opinion as well, because he wouldn't be on the show if he didn't agree with me on that, at least. That was part of the interview process. But who changed? Like, she's the same terrible, gutless, principle-lacking lawmaker that she's always been. He wasn't this person.
Is it getting her out of the Senate? It's like, yeah, sure, I'll endorse you. Just leave.
No, I'm sorry. She's already leaving. She already announced she's running for Congress, like, a long time ago. So that he can't use that as an excuse. And, like, there's plenty of people that I would love to help pack their bags, but I'm not going to offer my support for another higher paying, bigger platform where she can hurt more people. He's giving her permission to use his name to hurt everyone in America. Every child in America she's going to hurt.
Yeah, I don't know what was behind this. I don't know what backroom dealing. I don't know what she agreed to do or toe the line with his legislation. I don't know what happened. This cannot be purely... We sat down, talked, had coffee, and you know what? She'd be a great legislator. And we should give her the keys to the U.S. budget.
Ugh.
Ugh.
Ugh. Next.
Emory students formed a safe space from Renee Unterman.
Well, I mean, they should. Everyone should have a safe space from Renee Unterman. It's called not electing her to Congress. Send her home.
Over presence of conservative speaker. Mac McDonald is the author of The War on Cops and the Diversity Delusion. The latter argues that higher education administrators are wrong to focus on nominal diversity based on skin color, gender, sexual preference, and so on. The talk was not funded by student fees and therefore was free of the non-discrimination requirement. She was invited by the Emory College Republicans. Not that I'm shocked to hear that.
I hate the word safe space. Like, it just sends me into a different, like, it just gives me a terrible outlook on whatever it is we're talking about, first of all. Second, I think it's so embarrassing that people are so insecure in their own positions that the presence of another person with different positions is troublesome to them or worrisome or causes concern. Like, I'm not... And what's even funnier is that they watched it from their safe space.
Yeah, as I read it, like downstairs in the same building, surrounded by people that totally agree with them.
Yeah.
So they could hug it out when this person said something that they don't necessarily agree with. I mean, this is Emory. Emory's not a joke of a school.
Absolutely not. And the fact that this was led by the people in student government is just is terrifying from the standpoint of, this is our future. Like, this is what these are the hate speech people. These are the I don't like the word snowflakes either, but this is the type of stuff that has fueled that terminology.
Oh, sure. Sure. When you say hate speech, well, you know what? So, I mean, it doesn't matter what. You should be able to sit down and listen to another point of view and prepare yourself to give a thoughtful retort. Sort of like Nancy Pelosi did last week when she, stood up on TV and ripped the speech in half. That's what all politics is devolving into is just being little bees about everything. We used to be able to have an intelligent debate and, somewhat respect each other.
I mean, I'm of the belief, I don't like ignorance, and I don't like when people are just emotional basket cases, but I really do love learning from other people, like on a one-on-one. And I would consider speeches, when someone's addressing a major crowd, like, that's still technically a one-on-one, because it's not like you're having like a back and forth or a panel or something. Like, it's just one person sharing their story. I enjoy listening to those types of things where someone explains why they are the way they are, or tells you stuff about their background that helps you understand why they are the way they are. We don't listen, like, most people don't listen to that anymore. It's just all where they ended up. It doesn't matter where they came from. Like, I don't have to agree with you, and I don't have to agree with your ideology to appreciate where you came from and understand why you hold those beliefs.
Right. Well, that's the thing is, I can listen to somebody I completely disagree with on most things and be able to pick out, I didn't know that. I didn't know that, and incorporate it into my own belief. Now, if everybody did that, there would be no movement. There'd be no maturing in your thought process. There'd be no evolution in your thought process. It would be, this is the way I am when I'm 18, and that's just the way I'm going to be. So if you're not willing to listen, at least listen to somebody's point of view, there's an absurdity there that is playing itself out in a, prestigious university. So
it's disappointing. And I wish, the faculty can't stop it, but I wish that they maybe coached them a little more on, all these groups have sponsors or faculty advisors. Like, I wish there was, but it's higher education, so.
Right.
Those wishes aren't going to come true.
The faculty advisor is the one shouting the loudest.
Yeah.
Or whispering in their ear going, yeah, you should definitely not go to that. Go get your own safe space. Protest down there. That's just stupid. It's just, you're spending a lot of money to be at a prestigious university to be stupid. So, speaking of things that stink, Georgia Court of Appeals weighs in on qualifications for smelling weed.
What did you think of this case? I know you're going to give a background, but, before you give the background, I want to know what you thought when you saw the headline. Because the headline that I use on All on Georgia is pretty much what... There hasn't been a whole lot of coverage on this, but it's been the...
Well, no, it hooked me. But no, in reading the article, it makes sense. It makes sense because how many times have we heard, I say how many times have we heard, but you've seen it on TV, and I detect the odor of alcohol, I detect the odor of marijuana, I'm going to need you to step out. So right. It's been an established practice all over the country in law enforcement. So last month, the Georgia Court of Appeals issued an opinion with regards to a case involving a juvenile that will undoubtedly set precedent for trial courts in Georgia to weigh when an officer is qualified to distinguish the smell of marijuana. the background on it, if you want to get it, Jessica, is interesting to me.
Yeah, so you were talking about how the headline got your attention. I got it through a legal email that I'm subscribed to. It's expensive because it's for lawyers, so I usually just read the headline and then Google the case and read the actual case opinion because I'm cheap and I'm not going to pay for legal and support the lawyers and whatever. I don't know where the money goes. Anyway, I looked up the case and I was the same way. Like, I looked at the headline and I was like, well, this doesn't seem right. Because I'm like, you need qualifications to know what weed smells like. But then when I read the case in the background, I'm like, okay, I'm with you. So basically, there was a deputy for the Wheeler County Sheriff's Office, which Wheeler County is a very small county. They have just over 7,000 people, and it's in East Georgia-ish. I mean, between like a triangle from me to Glenwood to Augusta, Statesboro, it's in the middle of nowhere. Very rural. And there had been a series of break-ins in the last few weeks. So the deputy was doing patrol about 10 o'clock at night, and he saw this juvenile walking with a backpack, a very well-stuffed backpack, according to the case. And he thought it was suspicious for this younger-looking kid to be walking at that time of night when the break-ins had been occurring. So he pulled over to the side, put his blue lights on, and pulled in front of him because for a number of reasons, but the reason was safety, did the little angle thing where he pulls off and to block traffic from hitting the kid. And so he asked the kid what his name was, and when the kid wouldn't give him his name or any type of identification, the officer said he smelled alcohol on the kid's breath and the odor of marijuana. And so from that, when the kid would not give him his name, he told him to stay right there, and he went back to the patrol car, and the kid left. And the officer followed him, and eventually the kid came back to the deputy's car. He put him in handcuffs, searched his bag. By this time, other deputies show up on the scene. They end up searching and finding a grinder with marijuana residue and a bottle of alcohol. They arrest him, charge him with 4 counts of obstruction, possession of less than an ounce of marijuana, drug-related objects, and underage alcohol possession. And then his attorney, which this is the really unique part for me, because just knowing how the judicial system works down here, the family got an attorney from Atlanta, Stone Mountain actually, who moved to suppress the search based on the fact that the officer presented no evidence that he was qualified to identify the smell of marijuana. And initially I was like, well, I don't understand, because if he smelled like alcohol and he appeared to be under 20, like significantly under 21, which he was, if he's identified by his initials, that means he's under 16. But, I was like, wouldn't that be sufficient for the search? Because if he smells like alcohol, then that's probable cause. However, a reasonable suspicion at a minimum. But when I looked further into the case, the problem was that the officer didn't document hardly any of this in his report. So there's a lot of issues here, not just with the fact that he, quote, wasn't qualified or didn't provide proof of qualifications to identify marijuana. He also wrote a very shoddy report and never in his report made any notation that the juvenile appeared to be under 21 or appeared to be any age at all. And so that's where he got himself in trouble. Now, from like my perspective with my job, I think it's fantastic that a lacking report helped get a case thrown out, because for both parties, I think reports should be long and as thorough as possible, so that, especially in counties like this where there's no dash cam and no other supporting evidence, like you've got as much on paper from the night in question as you possibly can.
The stuff that I had a real problem with, one being just stopped him because there were break-ins in the area and he's carrying a backpack. Yeah, you have a right to move freely around this country.
Yes.
And just
now, I will say one other thing. Sorry, I meant to mention this. If he had mentioned that he appeared to be very young in age, then the whole we have lots of juvenile curfews down here in our cities and counties. That could have applied too, because you could have said he appeared to be, underage, and I thought that, I stopped him because, I thought he was out past curfew, or and in the court documents and everything, and the attorney didn't. The defense attorney didn't challenge the fact that initially the officer stopped, and wasn't like, "What are you doing?" He was asking, "Are you okay?" Or, "What are you doing? Do you need a ride? Do you need me to help you call someone?" It was a tier 1, just conversational, no detention stop. Well, then when he told him, "Stay there, don't move," that's when it escalated to a tier 2 stop, and he had no cause to do that. Officers can stop you and ask to talk to you. You don't have to do it.
Right. And I did a little research on this story. I went to the head shop down the road here.
You did?
I did. And they sell leaf, or what do they call it? They call it flower CBD. So it's hemp. And it's in the flower form, which, if you were buying marijuana, would be buds. And I asked him, okay, so can I smell it? He goes, sure. Pulled it out. This legal product smells a lot like pot to me.
Does it?
So does the skunk I smelled coming back from a job I had earlier today. I mean, but look, it looks like pot, with the exception, if you know what you're looking at. Obviously, the CBD doesn't have the crystallized THC buds that like good marijuana has. But if you pick it up and smell it, it's the same. And smoke is one of those things that you don't have to be engaged in the activity to smell like it. That's true. There's a cigar store here in Hiram that if you go in for 5 minutes and come out, everything you own has to go to the laundry. Because you reek of smoke. Even though you didn't burn a cigar, you didn't smoke anything. You just, last time I went there, I just went in with a buddy who's going in to buy a couple cigars. I came out, the jacket had to go to the cleaners, everything had to be washed, because it stunk like smoke. Like, used to smell like going to a club. So being in the presence of someone smoking marijuana isn't by nature a crime. So smelling like pot is not a crime.
Right.
Alcohol, I don't know. I mean, there are ways to smell like alcohol and not be in possession of alcohol. One is really hungover the next day, and you're sweating at your pores. Especially walking. That's a hard thing to say. Well, he might have smelled like booze and he looked underage, so I detained him and searched him.
I'm with you. I mean, the whole thing is, from start to finish, was poorly done. And there were a number of times when it could have gone a different direction. And I think one of the things that they said that he didn't, one of the big components was that he didn't present any type of certifications, whether he was or not is irrelevant. He didn't present that part's the state's fault. They didn't present any evidence that he had taken any training classes on the smell of weed, which they do offer. They light it up and smell it, and then that's the end of it pretty much. But Wheeler County is so small, like, I guarantee you, I think they've had like 10 cases in the last couple decades that went to the Court of Appeals. Like, people aren't, they're just not challenging cases in state court there and working them up. So this attorney truly handed this deputy's ass to him.
Yeah, and of course it was the big city attorney that came down. Look, it's good. I mean, I don't want someone's word being used say, yeah, he smells like it. You need to give me something else than I smell like something,
I agree. And I'm talking crap about the deputy, but I said it. The state is to blame. Like, the prosecutor had the responsibility to prove beyond. Yeah, the deputy made a bad arrest, maybe, or But the state is the one that said, yeah, we're going to pursue this after looking at the evidence, which there hardly wasn't any other than what they found in the search. And they're the ones that said they were gonna move forward. So
absolutely, this could have been handled very quietly. They could have counseled the officer or the deputy, whoever it was, and told the kid, "Don't do that again." You know, they and called it a day and not wasted the taxpayers' money taking it to court. I think it's impressive that the parents stepped up and hired an attorney, because normally, I say a lot of times with family court, it's one of those things where it's not really going on your record. Just make it go away.
right.
But this is going to be used, and it's going to change the dynamic at checkpoints. You pull up, roll down the window, it smells like marijuana. Does it? Or does it smell like a completely legal product? You know, I always thought it was interesting where it smells like alcohol. Well, there are 4 people in the car. I'm the DD. Of course it smells like alcohol. They're drunk. I'm not.
Yeah.
But this is new territory with the hemp stuff, with CBD. I've tried CBD for joints and things like that make a water-soluble CBD that you drop into whatever you're drinking. And it tastes a lot like weed. It tastes like weed smells. And not that I've noticed any huge difference with the joints, but I've heard so many people raving about it. I figured I'd give it a shot. Being a completely legal product. I mean, I don't understand people who are going and buying the whole flower and grinding it up and smoking it like you would weed, because it's not exactly health food if you're smoking it.
Right.
But what do I know? Not much.
Well, these are our opinions and not those of All in Georgia or anyone who does not appear on this podcast that's with All in Georgia, or anyone who's not on this podcast that isn't us.
That's true. But you should agree with me.
Well, when you're right, you're right.
And if you do like what you've heard, please like and share us on social media, and rate this podcast on whatever platform you use to listen to it. So, we have a case in, it's South Atlanta, Spalding County, where SWAT used armored vehicles to serve a warrant for simple assault, family violence, and disorderly conduct. And the pictures on this were astounding. So this county commissioner, Spalding County Commissioner, and we don't really know the details of what led to the warrant. Anything that I've read. The sheriff's department goes to serve a warrant to take him to jail, which normally, I mean, I would assume like it's simple assault. You go, okay, let me lock the door. Can I grab my wallet? Yes, sir. Okay, I'm going to lock the door behind me and go. It's alleged that he fired a couple shots. This guy's name is Dan Hawbaker in Spalding County. Fired a couple shots. So they brought out an armed personnel carrier and bashed in the front door of his home, leaving a giant hole to drag him out.
So when I saw the story, first I was like, yeah, like what a great use of an armored vehicle. And then I was like, wow, because it's not often, regardless of the situation, that you see law enforcement drive a armored vehicle through the front of a home. So the initial stuff that I saw, I only when I was preparing for the podcast did I see that they had a standoff for 2 hours, which, I mean, I don't know how you define whether something like that is a long time or isn't. But I feel like 2 hours is enough time to wait to plow through someone's front door.
Man, I don't know. First of all, I don't know whose home he was in because I think it was pointed out that it's in a retirement community. So, especially if there was a family violence thing, he could have been staying at Mama's house. He was by himself. So, there's no hostage here. And I don't know. I don't know how this broke down, but he was arrested and held without bond.
How weird is that? I mean, well, I'm sorry. You go ahead because I have an explanation. But
4 counts of aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer, and I'm guessing that's what did it.
Well, I was gonna say that plus the family violence part. Like, yes, it was simple assault and not like something crazy, but that should be clarified. All domestic violence allegations are to be taken seriously, but it wasn't like it wasn't battery or it was simple assault. We don't really know the details of. We don't know how severe it was, but a lot of times they will do family violence stuff to keep you there until there can be TPOs or, other precautions taken to make sure he has arrangements to go stay somewhere else so he's not in the home or whatever, or the family can leave and go stay with other family or whatever the case may be. So that might have, giving it a little more thought, that might have been why he was denied bond.
Well, I thought about that too, but you can issue the TPO there. The story, which was not written by Jessica, doesn't really tell us what the reasoning is behind it. I know that he was being held in Fayette County Jail, which is neighboring county. So I don't know if this is a Fayette County judge. None of this is really hashed out. I can tell you from the pictures, old dude's got some busted up on the left side of his head. So something may have hit him when the door was busted down. Somebody may have hit him that was right-handed. I don't know. But when you talk about simple assault, that can be having a shouting match that gets the neighbors involved. It doesn't have to be physical. You would think that somebody, a grown-ass adult would just go, okay, let's go to jail. Let me call my attorney. But I also think that being a county commissioner, somebody could have made a phone call too, and to him, like, look, this has gone far enough. You know all these guys. All these guys know you. No one needs to get hurt. Come on out. And I don't know if that happened or not. But I know he blamed alcoholism.
Right. And, it's all sad. I mean, it's sad that he's at the point that he is, and it's sad that all of it is sad. But a couple of the mugshots initially, he was smiling. Like from another incident? It
has to be from another incident because he, the pictures...
A DUI. He got a DUI last fall on the way to a commission meeting.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one, he looks like he may have been busted up a little. I don't necessarily think that he'd be smiling, but I don't put a whole lot of credence in how people look in booking photos because there's no correct look.
Yeah, but smiling is kind of
a dick move.
A little bit.
Well, that's what got
Abby Winters.
You got Abby Winters for sure. Oh, she was proud of herself. She still had no idea that she'd done something wrong. At that point, she thought that everybody was going to come rally around her. They're like, ooh, no. But yeah, people don't really know how to act with that. I've heard guys say, well, you might as well smile. I mean, your picture's going to be everywhere. Might as well look good. But obviously this guy has a problem with alcohol. He probably should seek help. But man, I don't know. I don't know what the right level of force is. It'd be interesting to have somebody who would have more knowledge of what was going on that day, but we'll never hear that.
Right.
More good news for me. We'll never hear it. So Senate committee approves bill that would allow voters to decide to dissolve county police departments. This is Senate Bill 317.
So currently, a lot of our counties in several parts of the state have, the sheriff's office, which is constitutionally created, and then lots of local municipal police departments. And then some of them have a county police department in addition to all of those. Cobb, Fulton, Gwinnett, Henry, Chatham,
Clayton,
Glenn, which is, Clayton, that's true. They've had their share of headlines. And Glenn County is actually the one that inspired this bill because they've had all kinds of drama between their district attorney's office and the Glenn County Police Department, because the district attorney's office has tried to control them, and then they've had some rogue officers and just all kinds of just bad headlines. But I think that having a county police department is totally duplicative, because you basically are just giving the county commissioners a way to generate revenue, because most sheriff's offices don't do that on the regular, and they're not getting the money from the local police departments to the scale that they are if they have a county police department. So I'm all for getting rid of them, except I hate giving people what they want when it's politically motivated because it's about control. I don't want to get rid of county police departments just because the district attorney's office doesn't like a particular county police department.
Well, current law allows counties, county commissioners, to create these police departments, but it cannot eliminate them by a vote of the public. I guess the sheriff can choose not to recognize the police department.
Right.
It's interesting. When you have a sheriff's department and a police department in a county, it's been my observation that the sheriff's department is a jailer. I think they may serve some warrants, but as far as law enforcement, it's not the sheriff is mostly concerned with maintaining the jail.
Yeah.
And then the police departments handle traffic, citations, typical law enforcement. Has been my observation. I don't know. I'm not a cop. Never been a cop. Never going to be a cop. Not until they come to me and say, "Hey, listen, Post has dropped its requirements. We need really fat, middle-aged guys who can't run anymore to work in our department." Got nowhere to go with that one.
No, not so much. Not so much. Yeah, I mean, again, it's not, it may be the right decision. I just don't, I'm not one of these persons. I'm not one of these people that's well, it doesn't really matter why we're doing it. It's where we end up. I would like the whole process to have a little bit of integrity, and I don't like having bills for political purposes or to have, the deal, one of the deals with the Glenn County issue is that the district attorney there has had some major snafus, if you will. One of the Glenn County police officers was going through a messy divorce and had domestic violence allegations he'd been arrested against his, I guess, estranged wife, and they had been separated for a while, and she was seeing somebody, and he beat her up and threatened to kill her and all this stuff. And then the DA gave him bond, and he went and killed her and her boyfriend and then killed himself. She let him out on bond twice, and it was a horrible, the case isn't even, all the information isn't even out because the guy's dead, and they just swept it under the rug. But Senator Ligon is helping her with this bill. So instead of addressing the issues and the shortcomings, she can say during her reelection campaign, which is this year, she can say, well, we are seeking to get rid of these types of agencies where these problems exist, when in reality, these types of problems exist everywhere, whether someone's in a police agency or not, and whether they're in a sheriff's office or a police agency. Like, it could happen anywhere. But it gives her an opportunity to say, look what we're trying to do. I'm going to our lawmakers to try to make, law enforcement, hold them accountable and blah, 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 blah. It's crap. And on top of that, like, you go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you are one of those persons. No, look, if you want to say that the people, the taxpayers, the voters, should have the ability to decide if the police department and sheriff's department in a county is redundant and expensive, absolutely. Law should not be written on basis of anecdotes. A one-off is an anecdote. It's a horrible situation, but it's an anecdote. If this could have happened if he was a deputy, this could have happened if he was the sheriff himself. This sort of awful thing that happens. I mean, I don't know that him being a police officer made this any more likely or less likely.
That's exactly right. Thank you. That's what I was trying to say, and I couldn't get it out.
Well, that's we're seeing eye to eye.
Don't. Oh, I thought you were gonna say that's what I'm here for or some crap. Like,
what? No. I'm here to
everything.
I'm here to read what you write and add some levity.
From the sheriff's perspective, though, like, there's lots of a sheriff's office can literally say, like, I'm not recognizing this as a legitimate agency, and not allow a county police department as the top law enforcement officer in a county, which I think is interesting, but that's a constitutional power they have. But I don't think they would want. There's a lot of sheriffs who would not want a county police department, but wouldn't want the legislature to take away the ability, because the sheriff wants the power to say, yes, you can do that, or no, you can't.
Well, it gives the legislature the ability to put a referendum on the ballot. It doesn't really allow the way I read it anyway, the legislature to go and say, Cobb County, you can't have a police department anymore.
Right.
But as we know with ballot initiatives, he who owns the pen owns the initiative. Because you can write it any way you want. Do you like puppies and babies? Yeah. And that's how they write every sales tax increase. Do you believe you should give 1 penny to the school children of Spalding County, or do you hate children and want them to be uneducated? Which I, of course, check. I hate children and want them to be uneducated. Because at least I'm literate and can read through their BS. But the average person going in who is going in this cycle to vote for Trump, they're going to vote for Trump. And then there's this ballot initiative, and the way it's written, you're staying in a booth. You can't ask anybody. You can't look it up. You can't pull your phone out to see what that is. All you have is that initiative that's written in front of you. So you have to base it on the wording of that initiative. And I'm getting off on a tangent, I know, but I really hate the way ballot initiatives are written. It should simply state the law.
No, I know you're right. I mean,
I know.
If you live in Cobb County, do you want a Cobb County Police Department? Yes or no? Like, it's not.
Right. But, it is interesting that the sheriff of Cobb County could simply go, nope. And I don't know what the process is, because there'd be a huge ramp up because he doesn't have road deputies. He's got a bunch of people working in the jail. I don't know what happens at that point. Do you absorb the sheriff's department and make them deputies? I mean, I have no idea what happens in that case. That's interesting. And I don't know that it would ever happen, because if anybody would write the ballot initiative saying, do we have too much law enforcement and do you like criminals?
I hate everyone. Let me write the ballot. Let me write the ballot language. Do you hate everyone? Yes or no?
Look around you. But, it's...
Everyone you know suck.
Everyone sucks and everything's horrible.
That's right.
Those are Jessica's opinions. And probably fact. So we kind of flew through the subjects, especially this one. But, and I think you really hit that one on the head with it is, hey, dumbasses, there isn't anything the state legislature doesn't have its fingers in. I love it. Your commentary is amazing. So
thank you.
Legislation would bar people from getting a commercial driver's license for life if they've been convicted of human trafficking.
This one really pissed me off.
Eric, sample that growl.
Oh gosh, it really pisses me off. Okay, so let me just give you a little background. So this bill, Kemp's office sent out like a pre-announcement that they were going to be filing or pushing this bill, which ticks me off because you're the governor. I understand you have floor leaders, but sit down and be quiet and just wait for legislation. Don't be pushing things. But they did, and they said that they were going to, this is the idea of it. And I was like, I don't like it, but I'm going to wait till I see the bill so that I can be sure I don't like it. And sure enough, I saw the bill and I don't like it because it bans them for life whether they used a semi-truck to traffic or in the commission of the crime is the language. So knowingly uses a commercial motor vehicle in the commission of the offense of trafficking. So you can traffic with a regular car, a Dodge Neon or a Chevy Silverado or a Ford Explorer, and you can still get a CDL. But if you don't have a CDL or you do have a CDL, it doesn't matter, and you drive your 18-wheeler and you're using it in the commission of just driving to get one of these trafficked humans or for sex or whatever, you could lose it for life, which means you no longer have a means to a legitimate income or livelihood, and you're probably going to go back to a life of crime.
Okay. We've done this before. I actually had a conversation with a defense attorney about the similar subject, and she agreed with me. This human trafficking stuff is bull. It happens. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but this is all about federal funding. This is all about optics. Loved girls are not being snatched off the streets and sold into sex slavery. If that were the case, you could not buy a carton of milk without having a picture on the back of it. That guy walking behind you in Target is not following you. He's not going to kidnap you. He's not trying to sell you into sex slavery. Nobody wants a mouthy 40-year-old housewife as a sex slave. You're going to be okay. Taken is a really good movie. The series, I agree with Deadpool. At some point, he's just kind of a crappy father if she gets taken 4 or 5 times. This is not what's going on here. What you find with sex trafficking is people who are drug addicted, runaways, and illegal. And I'm not saying these people are marginalized, but this idea that we have to start writing laws specifically going after something that's already illegal is absurd. It's not what's happening. People get whipped up in a frenzy, and this is the Penn and Teller trick of make you look at my left hand so you don't see what the right hand is doing. And so he can stand up and say, look at the strong policies of our governor on sex trafficking. That shit's already illegal. It is illegal to enslave somebody for any purpose, including sex. It's against the law. Right. It's already against the law to prostitute yourself. Now, whether or not that should be, that's a subject of debate, but it's already against the law. Now, it's super duper against the law if you use a commercial truck. And say you did, and you picked up a lot lizard, and she hopped in your truck and you got arrested for it. You do your time, you pay your fine. Now, like to your point, you have no way of making a living. This is what you do for a living. You're a truck driver. And now you have no way of making a living because they're going to tie that to you. It's
stupid. I mean, it truly is stupid. And you're just, it's not consistent. Like whether in the commission of a crime, but only if you use it. Like, what about all these other people? So you're telling me that if you traffic online or you traffic by boat or you go to a motel or a massage parlor that you can still get your CDL afterwards and possibly traffic through trucking then? But if you use the truck on the first go around, then sorry, you just can't make money that way. Like,
and there's no good definition of trafficking. They tried to hit Bob Kraft with trafficking. And you don't talk about making money, using money to make something go away. You know, that massage parlor that Bob Kraft went to in Florida, they found out none of the girls were trafficked. They were all doing their thing to make money, but none of them were there against their will. And, the first thing they hit him with was human trafficking. It's like, one, he was a customer. Two, there were no victims in there. The girls in there knew what they were doing. It is a buzzword, and Kemp's not stupid. Now, apparently he thinks the electorate is.
His wife chose this as her cause.
Well, I mean, truthfully, your wife chooses it as a cause. I mean, yes, dear. But no, this is her thing. This is her version of Michelle Obama and the school lunches.
Right.
They're going to ensnare a bunch of people who were in any other aspect of life, were not doing anything evil or anything like that, and lump them in with sex trafficking for being someone who either has found themselves in a point in life where, their body is a commodity, or somebody who is so butt ugly that they need to find somebody who's willing to trade cash for using their body as a commodity, and lump them in with people who are the bad guys in Taken. And it's okay to hate prostitution. It's okay not to like it. It's okay to hope that your daughters don't end up doing that. It's okay to find it morally, bankrupt. That's okay without lumping it in with people who would kidnap you off the streets and chain you, drug you, and throw you into a room with Johns.
Right.
So anyway, sorry. I know it's really, not really politically correct of a dude to be talking about that, but when have I been correct? Jessica, your closing thoughts.
My closing thoughts. Just briefly, Cobb County Sheriff Neil Warren settled a lawsuit over his Facebook blocking on his personal page because he uses his personal page for sheriff's business. I'm not a big fan of Sheriff Neil Warren right now. He's had some big problems and some bad headlines with his jail and the way he's doing things, and I think he needs to, at least at a minimum, have a challenger, which he does for the next election cycle, just to hold him accountable. But with regard to the Facebook lawsuit, I'm just super disappointed, one, because the payouts are coming from taxpayers, obviously, and they've spent a fortune defending him because of sovereign immunity and everything, and just how it all works, but more so because the ACLU and the person suing tried to warn him last year and say, like, look, this is the case law. You're not allowed to do this. Like, the courts have said over and over, you can't block people. And he did it anyway, and it's cost us a fortune. And I think I know he's trying to blame it on the guy who sued him and say, look, he cost us $30,000 over social media, but Neil Warren cost taxpayers $30,000 over social media. So I'm just disappointed, but at the same time, I'm like, told you so.
We're going to have to find a procedure for that. If it is keeping your personal Facebook 100% personal, you make it private. It's your friends, your family. You can show pictures of your puppy, show pictures of the baby, and share pictures of vacation. Or if his official page has something and you share the story, it's not a political page, versus you posting on yours and sharing on the campaign. There's going to have to be some guidance on it somewhere. Because just because you're elected doesn't mean you don't have an outlet to at least have the family connection that you and I enjoy with Twitter and Facebooks and all that stuff. And I don't know what it's going to be, but there's going to have to be some sort of guidance at some point saying, look, this is what you can get away with on a personal, and the minute you pierce that veil, it's now public.
Right.
And I think making it private would be a really good step, and have that as your disclosure. This is my private Facebook account. My campaign account, or my official account, is here. This is for my friends and family, period, and leave it at that. So, we have a bill to put Georgia on one time year-round, whether it's Eastern Standard or Daylight Saving Time. I'm not necessarily opposed to it. I think it's stupid to keep changing time back and forth. I think that we're all adults. We can all decide what time it is. I would like to have the extra hour of daylight, and you don't really get an extra hour of daylight, but I would like to have the light later in wintertime rather than summer, because summer is light till 10 o'clock anyway.
Right.
And what's your commentary on it, Jessica?
Voters are... Well, no.
Wes Cantrell.
Voters are stupid, and Wes Cantrell... he'll still be a little bitch even if we're in another time zone. He's the one that we blasted for not reading the bill, and then he said that I'm the reason we can't have nice things because I blasted him for signing on a bill he didn't read. And he admitted he didn't read it, and he said, I'm why we can't have nice things. And I'm like, no, hold up the mirror, you little bitch. I didn't say that. I'm just saying that to you people and Dave. Eric's going to have to bleep it. I don't feel bad, though. I'm not why we can't have nice things. Have a good week.
So anyway, for Jessica Szilagyi, for Eric Cumby, our editor, I'm Dave Roberts. Have a great week.